What's up, Spartans? It's Dr. L here with Spartan Mind, your chief mind doc at Spartan. I'm here each Wednesday working with you to get your mind clear of some of that stuff that's preventing you from showing up in the way that you want to. Today, we're going to talk about why we blame. I think this is a great question. I asked a bunch of you guys on Instagram, what did you want to hear about? And somebody said that they wanted to hear about why we blame. And I love this topic because let's be honest, we all blame at any given time, right? We sometimes blame people at work. We sometimes blame people in our family. We sometimes blame our kids on things like why we were late to school when maybe we just couldn't get our act together. We blame. It's something that we do. And there's a couple of different reasons why we do it. The first reason is we like to, as human beings, offload uncomfortable feelings. We actually are not very good sitting with and tolerating feelings that are distressing. And one of the feelings that is the most distressing is when we are disappointed in ourselves about something, right? So what do? We offload it onto somebody else. So let's say, for example, that we missed our kids' recital. And that's disappointing to us. Like, it feels like we failed. It feels like maybe we aren't good enough. There might be some shame attached to it. So what do? We offload that. Maybe we offload it onto our spouse. Hey, you didn't remind me of the recital, right? That's blaming. And it's a position that we take so that we basically protect ourselves from that difficult emotion, all right? So that's the first reason we blame, is that we will like to offload those uncomfortable feelings. The second reason is we actually, as human beings, want to preserve our ego. It's a survival tactic. Like, we need some level of ego in order to show up, in order to survive in this world. And if we didn't do that, if we didn't offload or blame sometimes, then our ego would be at stake. Now, the good news is that's actually okay. Our ego can remain intact even if we acknowledge that we've made a mistake or we've engaged in a failure. But sometimes that more primitive part of us wants to preserve our ego. And therefore, again, we offload the responsibility onto somebody else so that our ego can remain intact and so that we can feel like we've done nothing wrong, we haven't failed, we haven't made a mistake. So there's a few things I want you to think about when it relates to blaming and looking inward at what's going on for you when you blame. So I want you to think about that first part, right? What feeling are you uncomfortable with? Are you disappointed and that's just too much for you to tolerate? Do you feel anger towards yourself and worried that that could be destructive? Is shame showing up for you and you're feeling like, oh, it's just too much and I can't tolerate it? What feeling is going on for you that would feel better if you offloaded onto somebody else by blaming them? Okay, so do some deep diving into what feeling is uncomfortable for you. And then you could even go a little bit further and really ask yourself, how do I learn to tolerate that feeling? What are the beliefs and judgments that I have about my feeling that I need to wrestle with and rumble with so that I learn that actually I can sit with that feeling, I can tolerate that feeling, and I can take responsibility. Now, that second part of the puzzle when it comes to blaming is reminding yourself that your ego can remain intact, that we are all human, we all make mistakes, we are fallible, we fail. So the next time that you forget your kiddo's recital, or let's say you show up to work not prepared for the meeting, or you fail that obstacle out on the Spartan race, your ego can remain intact as long as you weave in common humanity. Know that everybody fails, that it's a part of life, and that yes, you can gain wisdom from it, okay? All right, so think about those few things as it relates to blaming, and it'll set you up to understand that a little bit better.